Season 2, Episode 7, review of The Mandalorian, along with some awesome Easter eggs you may have missed out on, right here on All Comics Access. Hey, welcome to All Comics Access, your host, Joe, the Beast McCoy, aka the Mixed Marvel. And what can I say? I mean, this episode got deep, it's called The Believer. That it just lets you know, hey, is this going to be a mental, mind-bending sort of thing? I mean, we're down to the wire here, people. I mean, next week's going to be the last episode, and it's going to be crazy. So, I'm very excited to see everything coming to fruition. And what I loved about this episode in general was just the depth of everything. But before I get into proceedings, if you haven't already, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well, because I will be bringing you some more awesome geeky stuff week to week, even, after The Mandalorian's over. So I got some surprises in store, but definitely stay tuned for that. Alright, so let's get right into it. First and foremost, the director of this episode was none other than Mr. Rick Famuyiwa. And what was interesting about this particular gentleman, he did the first season's episode number 6, when our lovely comedian Mr. Bill Burr had starred in that one. So it's pretty cool to see him like, hey, I'm on repeat doing the same one again. Same guy. But he has a great eye for detail, because I love every little thing that he caught with this. So we remember from the previous episode, they're on a mission, obviously, to get our baby Grogu back. And in order to do that, they had to get their hands on the right kind of inside track, so to speak. And that inside track involved our slick talking fella, ex-sharpshooter of the Empire, Mr. Migs Mayfeld. And I thought it was pretty interesting how they opened it up. They're going to basically like an Empire junkyard, so to speak. You see, Migs Mayfeld and a number of other prisoners working there. And it's pretty crazy to see like remnants of the Empire there. It's kind of poetic in a sense. You have Migs Mayfeld, who is left over from the Empire. And then, he's digging through TIE fighters and various things for scrap, and digging through different parts of the Empire itself, salvaging it, because, that's the duty that the New Republic has put them under. And we can definitely tell the New Galactic Republic is doing their due diligence to, in a sense, put the galaxy back in order after all the years of war. We see that particular droid that's overlooking them, making sure that, hey, he's staying in line. So it was pretty crazy too. I thought it was funny. Another hint of repurposing of the things for the future in the galaxy. We saw the AT-AT, very similar from a few episodes ago when we had seen in another episode how it was AT-AT crane that had pulled Din Djarin out of the water when he was in the Razor Crest. So I thought it was pretty cool that, hey, it's still being put to work in this junkyard. So that was pretty wild. I thought it was pretty interesting. Migs Mayfeld was pretty surprised to see Cara Dune. And it was pretty funny to see, hey, alright, here's this one Mandalorian guy. I don't know this dude's pretty safe, but his face was priceless when Din Djarin got off the ship. I thought that was pretty funny. Right away, though, what I noticed off Boba Fett, he has that fresh new armor. I mean, dude, it was awesome to finally see him get something that was, worthy of him in a sense. Cleaned up well, ready for battle. What I thought was pretty crazy was, not only that amazing mythosaur, sigil on the side, which is traditional to him, but also that other sigil that was on the front in that chest area. If you're wondering about that, that particular sigil is significant because it is basically to reflect his adopted grandfather, Jaster Morrell. If you're wondering about Mr. Jaster Morrell, he was a Mandalorian times past who essentially was the mentor and adopted father of Jango Fett. And that particular crest is known as a journeyman's protector symbol, which I thought was pretty phenomenal. And if you're wondering any more about that, definitely check on the Jango Fett comic from times past. What was pretty cool was seeing the inside of the Slave One. In times past, we've only ever seen the cockpit of it, so it's pretty awesome to watch them all sit down and you see the wall kind of moving behind them, because we know like the Slave One has that funky little angle, you know, and it's at a bit of an axis, I guess you could say. So we see that, you know, it was just turning just so they could take off and go into the galaxy on their mission. By picking up Migs Mayfeld, they know he has certain sensitive information that could help them locate where Moff Gideon is. And basically what threw them for a loop was going to a planet by the name of Morak. Migs Mayfeld said, hey, you know what, they have a secret base there where they do some certain kind of mining, and basically we can get the information from there, from that secret base. So of course going into this they're a little bit skeptical, but hey, you know, what choice do they have at this moment, because you know the chips are down and baby Grogu is waiting to play in Morak. We learned that, you know, essentially what they are mining for is a certain kind of substance by the name of rhydonium. Now what's interesting about rhydonium, if that sounds pretty familiar, we definitely recognize it from the Rebel series. In particular, as Miss Sabine Wren said, it's her oldest and most explosive friend. Now, upon arriving on the planet, we learn quickly from Migs Mayfeld that this secret remnant base is ran by the XISB. And the interesting twist to it all, you know, obviously he needs someone to go with him to infiltrate this facility, but he lets them know that, hey, they have special facial recognition technology. And we know the ISB is pretty lethal. I mean, considering, you know, a guy like Moff Gideon came from them, lets you know how tough they are. And so, you know, if any red flags go off, they're as good as dead. So obviously Cara Dune cannot go, being a former rebel dropper. And unfortunately, the sharpshooting awesome lady Finnick cannot roll along because she is wanted by them. And then last but not least, the legendary Boba Fett is not able to go because, well, obviously, like most of us know, he is a clone of Jango Fett. And as we know from times past, in particular the Clone Wars movie, that Jango Fett was used as a blueprint for all the clone troopers. So yeah, that would definitely show up right away. And then Din Djarin, you know, he steps up to the plate and says, I will go. And it was pretty interesting to see this all play out, because we definitely know this is stepping out of his comfort zone to see this mission through to infiltrate this base. I don't know if you're like me, but I thought it was pretty hilarious how, you know, Mando had to settle for a trooper outfit just like Migs Mayfeld. I was not expecting that. And it said a lot how much he trusted Cara Dune to handle his Beskar. But anyway, back to the moment. You know, on the way, while they're transporting this rhydonium to the other part of the base on the planet of Morak, we noticed that, you know, Migs has a very interesting outlook on life, trying to say that, hey, Empire, New Galactic, you know, all one and the same. And everyone has their system of beliefs. And what I thought was pretty interesting, how he said, hey, you're from Mandalore, and, you know, Alderaan, you know, both were planets of the past, and boom, they're no longer in existence. And of course, we remember Alderaan was a planet from the New Hope movie that had been destroyed from the Empire itself by the Death Star. And also, what's interesting, even though we know Mandalore itself as a planet is still in existence, we know that the planet has been somewhat decimated, especially considering times past, in particular, with the Empire carrying out what they call the Purge. So we notice right away that when they're trying to make it there, pirates start attacking. So I thought that was pretty crazy. And, you know, I have to say, impressed as always by Din Djarin's fighting skills. It was pretty crazy. You know, he's used to his traditional Mandalorian armor, and the trooper armor definitely isn't that. Now, what's pretty cool, you know, we noticed that the pirates have some interesting weapons that they're using that we may recognize. Thermal detonators, and they're just like the ones that we first saw in Return of the Jedi. So, of course, it was getting pretty crazy because we thought every moment it did Djarin kept having an upper hand. I mean, these pirates just kept coming in droves. And it's kind of weird, but it's like, man, we're kind of happy to see TIE fighters for once. Usually, it's never in that context. Like, it's the opposite. It's like, usually when you see TIE fighters, you're like, oh no, this is going to go bad. But hey, for once, it was a good thing the bad guys came along, because hey, essentially Din Djarin, I think him and Migs Mayfeld would have been toast. And what was pretty interesting, when they finally arrived to the facility, we see everyone cheering them on in a sense, and it showed a bit of a more of a humane side of the Empire, which I thought was a pretty interesting outlook in a sense. Was when it got to the moment, you know, he thought Migs Mayfeld would deliver, and he saw an unexpected thing. Basically, one of his former commanding officers that he could not come across. So Din Djarin was the one that had to go inside and use a facial recognition device, and that was an interesting moment, because we definitely know about Din Djarin's rule of not taking off his helmet, and it was interesting to see him actually go along with it for the sake of Grogu. And you know, he did it, which I thought was pretty awesome. That was interesting. That same commanding officer that basically Migs Mayfeld wanted to avoid. We saw that, you know, he approached not only Din Djarin, but also Migs Mayfeld, and of course Migs was covering for him. You know, Migs Mayfeld making up some pretty cool excuses for Din Djarin with some pretty big Star Wars references. So we saw that he brought up the planet of Tanab, and the planet of Tanab is pretty significant. I think it's interesting because we remember from a couple episodes ago the mention of Admiral Thrawn, and what's pretty cool, the planet of Tanab was a planet in times past that he did wage war upon. And also, if you're a fan of Lando Calrissian, we do remember from Return of the Jedi, that was the planet where apparently he did some slick maneuvering that was legendary. When the commanding officer sits him down and has a bit of a drink with him and chats it up about everything, Migs Mayfeld brought up Operation Cinder. And as I said in the last, you know, review I just did recently, that I am a huge Battlefront fan. And for all my people out there that are fans of the Battlefront game, you remember Operation Cinder was something crazy. Essentially, there was a contingency plan that the Emperor had laid down should he pass away. Basically, hey, you guys aren't worthy to rule yourselves, so we're going to take you out, the Empire, and also we're going to take out some of our enemies. But it was pretty fascinating to note that, you know, Migs Mayfeld was like, hey, not only did we lose soldiers, you know, I lost my friends that were with me in the part of the Empire, and, you know, even civilians. So I thought it was pretty crazy to show a more humane twist to such a crazy operation that went down. It was pretty crazy when Migs Mayfeld pulled out the blaster and, you know, basically handled business. I mean, it wasn't expected, but at the same time, you can't knock the guy. It was a bit of a redemption / revenge moment. So I definitely thought it was pretty cool when they were making their way out. You know, they're on the ledge trying to get every which way out of there, and of course the crew comes through and swoops them up just in time so they can get away. Migs had his hands on a cycler rifle, and that was interesting because he used that to blow up the base. It was pretty cool to see Boba Fett use the seismic bomb, the same one that we had seen in times past, on the Attack of the Clones. And last but not least, I thought it was pretty interesting. Cara Dune naturally had her doubts about him. I mean, he is a criminal and worked for the Empire, so to speak. But she saw like, hey, this guy's legit, and he carried everything out and so much more by taking out that base. That put a big dent in the Empire's operation. So she basically gave him a free pass. And so it was pretty cool to see that, Migs Mayfeld, his road to redemption paid off essentially. And then I loved how everything wrapped up with Din Djarin reaching out to Moff Gideon. And it was interesting to note, when he was speaking to him through the hologram, he said, he means more to me than you will ever know. Essentially, Din Djarin was reusing the same wordplay that, Moff Gideon had said to him in the previous season. So I thought that was pretty cool to see him redo that. So, yeah, once again, that's just my 2 cents on the situation. I'm very excited for the last upcoming episode. I think that surprise Jedi or possible Sith could definitely show up. And it could shock us as far as, how they could swoop in and assist Grogu. Or, I don't know, it could be a cliffhanger altogether and maybe the Empire could get the upper hand. But either way, I'm looking forward to the finale in the coming week. But let me know your thoughts and your theories, basically, what you might think could happen on the season finale. Alright, folks, so I appreciate you hanging out with me here on All Comics Access. Once again, if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel to help out, and also stay tuned for some awesome surprises I'll be giving you week to week. Also, I know I've been saying it here and there, the details for my upcoming giveaway will be just around the corner, so please stay tuned for that. And if you would like your own personal little baby Grogu or any other cool Mandalorian merchandise, please click the affiliate link I got there down below. Helps out the channel. And most importantly, I know these are crazy times out here, but I want you to stay true to who you are. I want you to stay awesome. Keep your head up. And of course, whenever you're feeling down and out, always remember, rise up and geek on.
If you see Francis, tell him I'm looking for him. I need to find him. Let me know where he is.
He's gonna get served.